Yo, what's going on, man? Today's November 27th, 2022, and we have a nice little 9 game card, man. Welcome in. This is the NBA ChrisBeCappinn show, Sunday edition, Day of the Dogs. The weekends are for the dogs as well, as we know. All four dogs covered yesterday. We had almost all four dogs end up winning outright yesterday as well, because the Lakers ended up going down in that game without AD and being listed as dogs as well. So we saw a lot of dogs cover yesterday. We saw a lot of dogs win outright yesterday as well. Everybody except the Utah Jazz. So the weekends are for the dogs, man. I talk about it all the time. Nice little, like I said, 9 game slate today. I didn't, I didn't break down all these games. Always transparent with you guys. I didn't break down all of these games quite yet. But we got a couple early games that I wanted to talk about. And then if anybody else got anything that they want to share, you guys definitely can as well after I get through my notes on these games. But hopefully we can get to some money, man. I got a couple plays that I really, really like. Also, really want to mention as well. I know before we actually get started, I wanted to mention I got a couple requests for the ChrisBeCappinn hat, the one that you guys see if you're watching the YouTube video. And I got some more of these. So if you guys want a hat, let me know. Shoot me a DM. They're $40 a piece, and that includes shipping as well. So let me guys know if you want to support the channel by copping a hat. But I got plenty of hats. The hoodies as well. They're on the website. $50 for the hoodie, $40 for the hat. T-shirts on the website as well. So if you guys want to support that way, you definitely can. ChrisBeCappinn.com, 2 P's, 2 N's, as always. That's been there for a while. I just don't talk about it as much. But let's actually get into these games, man. Let's talk about the 9 game card that we have on the board today. So first game up, let's go to this Nets game. It looks like that's the first game we have up. I think that's a 3 o'clock start time. So there's the first game that starts. Then we also got the Golden State Warriors traveling to Minnesota. And that's an early start time as well. So we got some matinee games today, man. Some matinee games to talk about. First game up, Blazers and the Nets. So this is a difficult game for me to cap as far as taking a side. I know that the spread in this one opened at 5.5 in favor of Brooklyn coming back home, and it quickly shot all the way up to 8. So money, definitely came in on Brooklyn. I see 70%, 73%. I'm sorry, 94%. I'm sorry, hold on. 77% of the actual tickets is on Brooklyn. 73% of the money is actually on Portland, though. So interesting splits there. Total in this one did go up, and I got to lean towards the over. Didn't play it officially, but let's talk about the game. So also, before we get started, man, like the tweet if you guys can, retweet the show, all that good stuff. If you're watching on Twitter, hit the like button as well. Portland, they come into this game off the overtime win against the New York Knicks 2 days ago. So no real travel for them, traveling from New York to Brooklyn. This will be their 4th game and last game of a 4-game road trip. And we know how funky that spot can be at times. Brooklyn coming into this one off the loss in Indiana on Friday to end their 3-game road trip. This will be their first game back home in there. I think it's like 6 straight home games that they have at the crib. So they'll be home for a nice little while. This is also the first leg of a back-to-back for them. They host the Orlando Magic tomorrow in Brooklyn as well. So kind of a weird spot. You don't really want to back the team, coming back home, but you also don't want to back the team on the 4th game of a 4-game road trip. And Jeremy Grant, so injury-wise, Eubanks is listed as questionable in this one. Winslow is listed as probable. Dame is still out, of course. And then Watanabe is still out on the Brooklyn side. One of the things that made me not want to back Portland, because I really wanted to back Portland. The Nets at the crib, I think they're like 3-4 as a home favorite, only winning those games by like an average of 1 point. Only winning those games by average of 1 point when they are, at the crib. But there's money coming in on Brooklyn. I'm like, why? Why is this money coming in on Brooklyn? One of the things that I read was after the overtime win against the Knicks 2 days ago, So it was that Friday. Yeah, on Friday, Jeremy Grant actually said in the locker room that it was a must-win game. They had already talked about that game being a must-win game. Teams typically can't bring that same type of energy that you need in a must-win game 2 games in a row. So if that was a must-win game, I don't think about this game as being a must-win game for them. They probably just want to get back out, on the West Coast. But the Blazers they're 6-1 ATS in their last 7 road games, 8-2 ATS as an away dog. So that's a much better record than this Brooklyn Nets team at the crib as an away favorite. Like I said, as a home favorite, they're only 3-4. Winning those games by average of 1 point. You also get the Nets. They're 0-4 in their last 4 home games versus a team with a road winning percentage above 60% or of 60% or greater. And the Blazers are 5-2 ATS in their last 7 in Brooklyn. So they typically play well when they come to Brooklyn or when they playing in Brooklyn. My lean to this game, like I told you guys, was the over. I didn't get there. It was 222.5 when it opened. It's up to 224. I see some 224.5s out there as well. I think this game has the potential to go over. We know Portland typically wins with their defense. Brooklyn, they gave up 40 points in the fourth quarter of that last game against Indiana on Friday night. What else? So one of the queries that I ran was, since the start of the 2019 season, teams who were a previous away dog, which the Portland Trail Blazers were, they were catching 5 points when that game opened. It closed, I think, around 3.5. And they won that game in overtime, and then they're an away dog again in their following game. The total goes over 8. There is 8-3. 73% of the time, the total goes over in the next game. We know Brooklyn's taking a step back defensively. Since they got Kyrie back, the defense hasn't looked as great. But they are coming off 2 really solid, home favorite spots. They beat the Knicks up really, really badly at the beginning of this month, and then they also took care of the Memphis Grizzlies when they came to town as well. So the shorthanded Memphis Grizzlies when they came to town. So no real, nothing that I'm looking at as far as the spot on that side, just because, like I said, it's too many varying trends. But one thing I was looking at, and I actually played this. I played Nurkic points, listed at 14.5. I think just looking at Brooklyn, they're allowing the second most points to centers over the last 7 games. I think it should be a good pivot spot away from, Anthony Simons and Jeremy Grant as well. Those guys went off in the last game. Jeremy Grant, I think, had 30-something. Jeremy Grant had 40-something. He had a career high, I think. And then, of course, Anthony Simons also went off in that game as well. I think he had like 38. I can't remember how many points it was specifically. But you typically want to pivot away from those players that play 47, 48 minutes. Nurkic did play like 37, 38 minutes in that game as well. But to me, this just seems like more of a Nurkic spot. He's also 5. Hold on. He's also 5 for 5 in his last 5 games, going over scoring at least 15 points. And 6 of his last 7 games versus Brooklyn in general. So he does well, specifically in Brooklyn. I actually laddered Nurkic. I took his 14.5 points. I took him at 20 for plus 320. And I may have sprinkled on his 25 at plus 1200 as well. I think the odds have dropped to 1100 plus 1100 now. But when I took it earlier, it was plus 1200 for Nurkic to score 25 points, something that he's done against this Brooklyn team a few times. And like I talked about, Brooklyn allowing the second most points to centers over the last 7 games. Also couldn't talk anybody off of his rebounds either. So I think he's listed at like 9.5, and Brooklyn just they give up so many rebounds. So I like Nurkic. I really like his 14.5 points a lot. And I played that unit play for me, Nurkic over 14.5. And I played his 20, like I said, at plus 320. And I put a little something on his 25 at plus 1200. Small sprinkle play, but I did play Nurkic 25 just in case. Sundays get crazy, man. You never know what's gonna happen on a Sunday. What up, Markel? Appreciate you being here. Hey, Chris, trust you good. Yeah, I'm straight. What up, JR? Appreciate y'all as well. If you're watching on YouTube, man, hit the like button for me. Let's keep going though. So next game up, and a game that I'm really interested in, is this Warriors and Timberwolves game. This game starts early as well. It's a matinee spot, 3:40. So just in about 3.5 hours, this game will be underway. This Warriors team coming in here off the win against Utah. Utah, what, 2 nights ago? So 1 day of rest for them. This Timberwolves team looked extremely flat in their last game against the Charlotte Hornets. Not a lot of defense being played, and you could argue that potentially it was a nice little look ahead spot for them. One of the things that I wanted to let me see if I can run this query real quick and show you guys. What's the final Eagles Warriors? Maybe I can't. One of the things I wanted to look at, though, I wanted to look at how teams do before they actually play against the Warriors, because we talk about look ahead spots a lot of the times, right? So I can't pull a query up right now. I don't want to take too much time, but I do want to talk about. Hold on for 1 second. Yeah, here we go. So I want to show you guys this real quick. I think this is pretty interesting stuff. So if you're watching on YouTube, you guys will be able to see this. So I'm gonna share my screen real quick, so you guys can see this query. I want you guys to look at this. So the query that I pulled is teams that are playing against the Warriors on their next game. And you see, like, if you got the Warriors on deck, you typically don't play as well. Let me minimize my screen so you guys can see the whole thing. Okay, so there we go. So you guys see, Timberwolves, they had the Warriors on deck to the Hornets. They lost that game outright, and they didn't cover the spread. The Jazz had the Warriors on deck. They lost that game to the Pistons outright and didn't cover the spread. The Clippers beat the Jazz, but the Rockets lost that game outright, didn't cover the spread. Pelicans lost that game outright, didn't cover the spread. So I think it is something to say, and you guys can see a nice little trim right here as well of teams that have the Warriors on deck that don't play well before that game, right? So just something I wanted to show you guys. If you go back up to the top, these teams are only 8-12 the game before. So if you take the opposing team on the spread, you're cashing at a 60% rate, which is not too bad at all. And you see straight up, these teams are losing the game. They're only 7-13, only covering 35% of the time. So yeah, I wanted to show you guys that real quick. I say all that to say this. I feel like tonight it could be a Warriors, like it could definitely be a Timberwolves spot. I don't necessarily want to take the Timberwolves, even though I feel like it's the right side. When you look at this Golden State Warriors defense, it's been atrocious on the road. They are allowing 124 points on the road and only 110 at home. 14-point difference is the biggest by far in the NBA. When you talk about your defense just not being able to being able to travel. And we know what the Timberwolves can do offensively. They looked a lot better. I skipped the side though. The Warriors are only 1-9 ATS on the road. I don't even got my mic up to my mouth. They are only 1-9 ATS on the road, but they are 7-3 in their last 10. So they have been playing just a tad bit better. Minnesota is just 3-7 ATS at home this season, but they are 6-4 straight up over their last 10. Like I said, it looked like they found something. What I did, I skipped the side in this one. I think it could be a coin flip type of game. I think Timberwolves could win this game as well. I took Cat. I took his points over 22.5. And this is something you guys can look at. So he's coming off. I'm taking him specifically because, for one, he's coming off this terrible performance against the Charlotte Hornets, where he shot just 1 of 11 from the 3-point line, 6 of 22 from the field. Could have been, like I said, could have been a look ahead spot. You get the defending champs. He only shot what? I want to say he shot 23% is what I looked at earlier. Now he gets this game against the Warriors, and he's performed well. If you go back and look at Cat historically versus the Warriors, last 3 games, dude has 39 points, 31 points, 26 points in his most recent performances. High total means that it's typically going to be a lot of points as well. So I locked in Cat over 22.5. I think, this could be a ladder spot for Cat. I didn't ladder his points, but I do think that if he gets to 22.5, he probably also gets to 25. And if he gets to 25, he could potentially get to 30. Like I said, the Warriors are giving up 124 points on the road this year. Couldn't talk anybody off of taking Cat and laddering his points up to 30. I don't know what you can get it at for 35, but it just seems like a spot for Cat to have a really big game. Also, continuing in the same game, I also played Rudy Gobert. Hold on, before I get to Rudy Gobert, Cat rebounds, which could be some interference with Rudy Gobert being there. But Cat rebounds are sitting at 8.5. They're juiced to the under. I think it was like minus 128. But if you go back and look at Cat game log against the Warriors, you got to go back 14 games to 2017 season where you find a game that he didn't have over 8.5 rebounds. Like I said, Rudy Gobert being in, is the elephant in the room. But I feel like Cat just gets up for a game like this. I see him being very active in a game like this. And I really like Cat, man. I like Cat a lot. Played his rebounds, smaller play just because Rudy Gobert is there. But I did lock in his points over 22.5. And his rebounds, nine rebounds is at 8.5. He's went over that 13 times in a row. So I think it's a game, like I said, he's just going to be more active. Also, looking at rebounds, Rudy Gobert rebounds is at 12.5. This dude's coming off back-to-back 17 and 16 rebound games over his last two. And you see him just kind of be more fluent in the offense. And I think that's, probably wanted him to contribute, like help with, his contributions, and wanting to actually get rebounds. So 16 and 17 rebounds last two games, specifically against the Warriors. Rudy Gobert's had at least 13 rebounds in every game dating back to 2018. That's 12 games in a row. So Cat has had at least 9 rebounds in 13 games. Rudy Gobert's had at least 13 rebounds in 12 straight games. And if you look back at that, like, let me see if I can pull that up real quick. Rudy Gobert, like he's had some massive rebound games versus the Warriors specifically. All right, so I'm gonna share my screen real quick so you guys can see this. I mean, this is pretty simple. Like, just go to StatMuse, type in Rudy Gobert game log versus the Warriors. You guys can see this column right here. 20 rebounds in the last performance, 18, 19, 15, 28, 14, 15, 15, 19, 14, 16, 15, right? So all the way back to 2018, like I was telling you guys. So, of course, that was a different team, but we know Rudy Gobert's primary responsibility, no matter who he's playing against, is going to be the same exact thing: box out, get rebounds. So I did lock in Rudy Gobert over 12.5 rebounds. I think it was a minus 128 line is what I got it at. And sticking to the same game, I typically never do this, but this is like all of these numbers just kind of jumped out at me. I played Cat over 22.5 points. I played this over 8.5 rebounds. Smaller play for me on his rebounds just because I like Rudy Gobert rebounds more. But I play Rudy Gobert rebounds, Cat points, Cat rebounds. Also, Steph points, 29.5. This game total was projected. It was projected high, right? I think it opened up at 232, and the money's come in on the over. I think it's all the way up to like 236 now, which lets you know that the money's come in on the over. And you get a close point spread. You get a close point spread that sometimes that can insinuate that games go to overtime. We saw it the other day with the Bulls catching 1 point, getting 1 point. I'm sorry, OKC getting 1 point, and that game went to overtime. So sometimes when these point spreads are close, you do get these games that end up going to overtime. Steph points. Why am I on Steph points? So the Timberwolves, over the last 5 games, they're allowing the second most points to point guards and second most threes. And we don't have to talk about how good Steph is at scoring and shooting 3-pointers. But also, I always talk about this. I talk about like the superstar in road games is mostly times needed because your bench doesn't play as well, right? So that's Steph on the road, at Target Center, where he's played really, really well historically. If you go back and look at his games, I'm gonna get to that in a second. High projected total, high projected scoring total, 1 possession type game. And it just feels like a Steph spot. If you look back at his game logs versus Minnesota specifically, Dude, it's almost, I don't know which is his favorite gym to play in, but you could probably argue that, if it's not Oracle or it's not Chase, this could be it. 34 points, five threes in his most recent performance there. 37.6 threes in the one prior to that. 37 points, 11 threes in the performance prior to that. And he got a 36.8 threes performance in his fourth most game. So I didn't skip over any game that was not at the Target Center. Those are literally Steph last 4 games at the Target Center. 34 and 5 threes, 37 and 6 threes, 37 and 11 threes, and 36 and 8 threes in his last 4 games at the Target Center. So I don't know what it is, but I put my money on Steph. I put my money on Steph easily. So over 29.5, I locked in. I didn't lie to Steph. I think 29.5 is, enough. But it could be a game where he potentially goes for 40, especially if, Clay doesn't show up, if Jordan Poole is not hitting. We know Steph gonna go out swinging. He gonna shoot the ball for sure. So Steph points over 29.5, Rudy Gobert rebounds over 12.5, Cat points over 22.5, and Cat rebounds, like I said, smaller play, over 8.5 rebounds as well. And then I already talked about Nurkic. Locked Nurkic in at 14.5 points, took him at 20, and put a little something on his 25 at plus 1,200 as well. Moving along, let me see what y'all saying in the YouTube comment section. What up, Freemas? What's the site with the SDQL queries? So Tannehill, this is the site I just showed is Give Me the Dog. Once you learn the lingo, it's pretty easy to learn, but you got to learn the actual queries. You can't just type the stuff in. But yeah, Give Me the Dog, GIMME THEDOG.com is typically where I run a lot of queries. Killer Sports and SpoDevs as well, other places that I'm looking at as well. Moving along, let's go to, those are the games that I really, really took a deep dive into. So, which is why I got so many plays, and I typically don't have that many plays in, over the course of 2 games. But you're looking at the rest of the slate. You get the Pacers and the Clippers. This one actually opened at, I think the Clippers were actually favored by 1, which I didn't agree with. I wish I could have got on that. Favored by 1, total at 222.5. That total has now come down to 220.5, which I agree with. And it's flipped to, the Pacers actually being favored. I see a lot of 1s on the board. I see some 1.5s as well. And I agree with that. If you look, I didn't play this, but I probably will end up playing this. It's a 4:10, start time. Which the only concern for me is the Pacers. They coming off the win, come from behind win against Brooklyn 2 nights ago. Now you got to travel all the way out to, the West Coast. They're gonna play the Clippers, and whenever you play the Clippers, of course, you play the Lakers, and then of course there's a few more stops as well in that Western Conference road trip. And you typically, that first spot can be kind of funky as far as time zone, as far as body actually adjusting to the time zone. So it's not something that I'm extremely confident in. But if you break the game down, and let's just say it wasn't the Pacers' first game, the Pacers, they're actually really, really good on the road. So 8-2 straight up in their last 10, and ATS as well. 8-2 straight up, and 8-2 ATS. 5-2 on the road, including 5 straight covers. Like, this team has really been covering. They've been playing a lot better defense. And I talked about this the other day, which is the reasons why I got behind the Nuggets. The Clippers, they are not the same team when they don't have PG and Kawhi. They're not a team that's built to win without PG and Kawhi. They're coming off the road loss against Golden State without PG. They also lost the game before that. I forgot who they played the game before that, but they coming off 2 straight losses, which is one of the reasons why I don't necessarily want to fade them, because you probably will get a desperate Clipper team here. But quite frankly, I just don't think they got enough offense. Not without PG and Kawhi. I also don't think they got enough defense. So last 2 games, the Clippers have played 2 games without PG and Kawhi together, and they're not projected to play today. Their defensive rating has dropped to the bottom 3 in the NBA, and I've kind of talked about that. They're just not the same team. Bottom 3 defense, they're rated 27th over the last 2 games. Defensive efficiency rating is a 122.1. And that was against 2 good offenses. This Clippers team lost to Golden State, and they lost to Denver. That was the other team, right? Today, It doesn't get any easier. They get a Pacers team that ranks 5th offensively over the last 10 games and 7th defensively. So the Pacers are the only way I could look. You actually can get the money line. I saw it at I saw it at minus 120. So that's something I might end up getting there on, but I haven't played that officially yet. I do like I'm going to continue to fade this Clippers team until PG or Kawhi come back. And I do think that we're kind of getting the discount. Like I said, the only thing I don't like is the Pacers first game, on this road trip. That's not a spot I necessarily want to back teams on. But you could argue that this is kind of it's more of a start time for the Pacers, a better start time because it's a matinee game versus them playing a night game, at 10:30 Eastern time, which they probably will end up playing tomorrow when they play against the Lakers. So you could argue that's the better spot for them. But this starts, a nice little road trip for them. They got the Lakers on deck, then they get Sacramento and Utah. So some difficult games coming up for them. And they probably don't think that they're gonna win all of them, especially because a lot of them are happen back to back. They got the Lakers tomorrow, and then they only get 1 day's rest. They're gonna go to Sacramento on a third game in 4 nights. So that's not the best spot. Sacramento probably going to be hungry, especially after, coming off the couple losses that they got. So, yeah, it's a lot going on, man. I look towards the Pacers to win this one. That's the only way I'd be able to look in that one. Heat and the Hawks. I didn't really look into this one. This Heat team is so decimated with injuries and, guys being in and out. If I'm being honest with you guys, it's not something that I've really looked at. I haven't really watched the Miami Heat play. I know that they did win the game, but they didn't cover on Friday night against the Wizards. They were 3.5-point favorites, end up winning that game 110-107. And now, you get them in Atlanta, still kind of shorthanded. Atlanta may have looked ahead. I talked about them, probably not covering that game, and they lost outright. Should be motivated in this spot to get back on the winning track. But do they win against a feisty, Miami team? I'm not 100% sure. And you know what? This is a revenge game. I forgot about that. This is a playoff revenge game. Atlanta did lose last year, so this is probably an Atlanta spot. Jimmy Butler is still out. Caleb Martin is questionable. Detman is questionable. Gabe Vincent is questionable. This is exactly why I ain't capped the game. Duncan Robinson is questionable. Strus is questionable. So yeah, yeah. And then Capello on the opposite side is questionable with that tooth. He was having some dental pain or something in his mouth. Heat 1-10 ATS in their last 12 games following a straight up win. 2-9 ATS in their last 11 games versus the team with the winning straight up record. And I'm pretty sure Trae Young remember those horrible games that he had against Miami when they was running boxing ones and pressing up on them and they couldn't really do anything. I think they probably got this one circled. It'd be heat or nothing for me in this one. What y'all on in the chat? What's up, Nesbet? I really should have stuck with the Lakers on the third time yesterday. Yeah, that's a fact. Devin Booker and campaign sold. Yeah, they did, bro. They won that game by 1 point yesterday. I ended up watching the second half. I didn't catch too much of the first half, but yeah, they did, bro. What up, Tony? Appreciate y'all being here, man. Hit the like button for me if you're watching on YouTube. Retweet the show if you're watching on Twitter. Hit the like button on Twitter as well. And let's keep it going, man. Like I said, I would only be able to look towards Atlanta in this one, especially the revenge angle. And you see money come in on Atlanta as well. That game opened as I should have been looking at that. I wasn't thinking about that. Opened at 5, it's all the way up to 6. I still think Atlanta probably win that game by 6. Maybe you take Atlanta early. Maybe they come out with something early as well, but I didn't cap the first quarter or first half. So moving along, Philly and Orlando. I don't typically touch these games that play back to back, same venue, same teams. Orlando was a favorite last game, and they looked terrible. We cashed on Shake Milton. I was thinking of actually going DeAnthony Milton today. Shake Milton looked really, really good, and he almost had a triple-double. I think he missed about 1 assist. His PRA was set at 27.5. I think he finished with like 46, so that was an easy cash. Pretty sure that number increased today, but I wouldn't mind going back to him. Orlando still can't shoot. They still can't stop guards, and that's the reason why I took it. But I think, pivoting off, typically players don't have, the same type game when they're playing against those teams. You typically see some regression. So I'll probably pivot away from Shake today and probably look towards DeAnthony Milton. I think I had that written down on my phone, but not actually on my computer in my notes. So that's what I got for you guys there. I'm not playing aside. I'm definitely not laying points with Orlando. I only take Orlando as a dog. I don't care if they're at home or on the road. That's not a spot I'm looking to back them in. And you see, Glenn Rivers. Shout out to Glenn. Glenn got the guys actually out there playing hard. They're not scoring a lot of points, but they're playing extremely hard. You see the total in that one is only 214 points. So the books are anticipating a lower scoring game as well. A game I was actually interested in, the Wizards and the Boston Celtics. And we got 1, 2, 3, 4. We got 4 games left. So I'm gonna try to hurry up. Wizards and the Celtics. So Wizards, and the biggest news in this one is Tatum is out. Rudy Hachimura and Monte Morris are both listed as questionable for the Wizards. I haven't seen anything on that. This is a 6:10 start time. So we still got about 5 hours before this one starts. A little over 5 hours. So Wizards coming in of 2 straight losses. They had a push in that last game against Miami. I talked about that. They failed to cover their last 4 games, but they were favorites in that game. And this is why you take teams as favorites, and this is why you don't take teams, when they're certain teams just function better in one role. And I'm not laying points with the Wizards. I talked about that. It's the reason why I couldn't play any of those games. I didn't, play the opposite team either, and I probably should have. So coming off 4 straight games where they were favorite in all of them, except that last game where they actually got a push, they function a lot better as a dog. So do I want to lay 7 points with the Celtics against a Wizards team that performs better as a dog? Not necessarily, but the Celtics without Tatum, I think that they are a tad bit undervalued in this one. You look at the Celtics, and I did some research on this last night. The Celtics, they're 4-0 to the over in their last 4 games without Tatum. And you see this total drop, right? The Wizards play better defense on the road, so I understand from that perspective. Total in this one opened at 226.5. It's down to 221.5. Some 222s out there as well. I think the Celtics can still score the ball. Like I said, they're 4-0 to the over in their last 4 games without Tatum. The Wizards are also 7-3 to the over as a dog this season. 4 straight overs in that regard as well. Defense not playing well, but offensively, when they're a dog, they typically score more points. Didn't see the line for grab my other phone. Didn't see any lines for player props when I looked at this one earlier, but I am extremely interested in Marcus Smart and probably looking at Jaylen Brown as well. Going back, if you just go to StatMuse and look at Marcus Smart last few games without Jason Tatum, he's the guy that typically steps up. Him, Derek White will probably be inserted into that starting lineup. And Jaylen Brown had a 56-point game, I think, not too long ago against in a game that Jason Tatum didn't play. So with Tatum already being ruled out, I kind of like Jaylen Brown. Probably more so Marcus Smart though. And if I look at Marcus Smart, I typically like to play his points, rebounds, and assists. And like I said, we didn't have lines for this one when I checked it earlier. I see the line all the way up to 7.5 now, and we actually do got numbers. We got Marcus Smart at 13.5 points. I'm probably playing that. That number's extremely too low. Derek White at 12.5. I'm probably going to be interested in that. I got to do some more research on that. But Marcus Smart specifically, he had 28 points in the second to last game without Tatum being there with 10 rebounds, and that was against Toronto. You look at Derek White, he had a game with 15, 8 assists and 6 rebounds as well. So looking at these guys' PRA lines, because somebody's going to pick it up. We know that this Boston Celtics offense is highly efficient, and that's with Tatum in the game or without Tatum in the game. That's with Jaylen Brown in the game and without Jaylen Brown in the game. So that's only going to create more shot attempts in my estimation. And I don't think the Celtics, I think that they find ways to score, and their offense doesn't look, too much different than not having Jason Tatum. That's just, my thoughts on this game. Let's see. Marcus Smart assists are at 7.5. We know that his assists typically at 6.5. Tatum is second on his team in assists, so couldn't talk anybody off that. I think Derek White assists are extremely low at 3.5. That might be the better look. I'm gonna actually write that down. I think Derek White assists got to be looked at. Also looking at rebounds, because Tatum is I think first on that team in rebounding. So looking at guys like Al Horford 7.5, Jaylen Brown 6.5, I think he probably goes for 10 rebounds today, because they'll have to step up and get more rebounds without Jason Tatum being down there. So love Jaylen Brown. I know it's juiced to the under at -142, but Jalen rebounds probably Jalen Brown rebounds. He'll probably end up with 9-10 rebounds. I think today 6.5 is extremely low. I also think Marcus Smart at 3.5 is extremely low too. He'll probably go down there and try to help crash on the rebounds, without having Jason Tatum in that game. So really love those looks. If whatever I end up playing, I'll tweet it out. But I haven't made my mind up officially because I when I checked earlier, those lines weren't even available. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking there. Markel said, I'm taking Ja for 30 in MSG. I could not talk you off of that. Markel, I could not talk you off of that. Tony said, Celtics too good. They are. Nesbet said, Hachimura, Morris, and I forgot. Kuzma also listed as questionable as well. Yeah, especially with Kuz. Yeah, for sure. If Kuzma doesn't play, I do think you could look at Porzingis rebounds. I think they were like 8.5. He's averaging like 10 over his last few games. Again, somebody gonna have to go down there and get the rebound. So if Kuzma's not there, I think that's even more rebounding opportunities and more rebounding responsibilities for somebody like Porzingis. So couldn't talk you off of that. I forgot that Kuzma got added to the injury report as well. I'm glad you mentioned that, Nesbet. I don't like home teams on Sundays though. So I think it's a difference, Tony. You don't like home favorites on Sundays, or you don't like home teams at all? Because this, it's a big, it's a big difference. I think you gotta like a team like the Timberwolves today. Catching points at the crib against a Golden State team that doesn't play any defense. That's 1-9 against the spread on the road. Nesbet said, I got the Grizzlies -3.5 last night. I'm always interested in the Grizzlies when they play the New York Knicks. It moved to 4 shortly after, now 2.5. Maybe people know Reddish and Brunson will play. I don't know. I don't care. But if JB is out, it could be ugly. Yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact for sure. That's a game that I didn't really talk about. I didn't really cap too much. And the last couple games, I talked about the Washington Wizards and the Boston Celtics. Moving along, the Cavs and the Detroit Pistons. This is a trend that I know, a lot of people don't like taking spreads, don't like taking dogs on Sundays, but this is the only trend that actually fits for the one that I talked about on Friday's show. I talked to you guys about, if you guys listened in on the Friday show, I talked about wanting to give the Houston Rockets out as my favorite play of the day, with them catching 7.5 points at the crib against, Atlanta Hawks team, probably looking ahead to, their game against the Miami Heat. And they won that game outright. This is another similar situation. You get this Cavaliers team coming in here off a win, coming in here off a loss. They got smacked up to the Bucks, specifically in the second half. So pretty sure they probably come out with something. The Pistons on the opposite hand, coming home off of, I think, a 6-game road trip out west. They were out west for like 2 weeks. First game back home, yeah, it was a 6-game road trip. I see it in my notes. Cavaliers coming off the loss against Milwaukee. I think that they could be motivated in this spot, but it's a Pistons team that they've already played, I think, twice already. Home teams catching 7 points or more are now 14-1-3. 93% this season against the spread. That's home dogs catching 7 points or more. 14-1-3, depending on where you got your number at. 14-1-3 ATS, 93% this season. The Cavs are giving up 106 points per game in 17 games this season. With Jared Allen, only giving up 106 points. Without Jared Allen, 2 games this season, they're allowing 121 points. He means a lot to their defense. He makes a big, big difference. So I know he was listed as questionable. If he doesn't play, I think you got to jump on the Pistons plus the points. I know it's their first game back home, which is the only reason why I kind of don't want to do it. But they're playing hard for Dwayne Casey. They've covered, 6-3-1 last 10 games against the spread. And let's see if I can get it to come up. They did well on that road trip, man. This team, has been really covering. So it's almost like a blind play. You just kind of play it. You hold your nose and you play it. Kind of like the trend I gave you guys yesterday, taking Houston plus the 2 and taking the under in that game. And we saw OKC, they struggled yesterday. One of the reasons why Shai Gilgeous-Alexander didn't hit his rebounds and assists that I talked about at 11.5. He had 10 potential assist opportunities yesterday, only finished with 3 assists. So yeah. All right, so Let's see. Jared Allen. I haven't seen any updated news on Jared Allen. Kevin Love is also already listed as out. Lamar Stevens is listed as out as well. Jared Allen still listed as questionable, and Karis LeVert listed as questionable. If Karis LeVert and Jared Allen don't play, I think you take the Pistons, man. I know it's an ugly spot. Bogdanovich is listed as questionable. Killian Hayes is questionable. Jaden Ivey is questionable. Sadiq Bey is still out. Kate Cunningham is still out. Corey Joseph has an illness. He's questionable. Matter of fact, just stay off the game. Don't play that game. That's an ugly, ugly game. You know what? Let's talk about anything else other than that game. Let's move on, man. Let's move on. So next game up, we have the let's go to hold on. Let's go to the Grizzlies in the Knicks game. Really difficult game to cap. Like Nesbeth said, without knowing the injury status of these players that really mean a lot. So I don't have anything on this game. I do think it's a Grizzly spot, especially coming off a really, really big win against the Pelicans. And I couldn't talk anybody off Ja. Ja, loves the Garden. He likes to talk trash. And at home, you want to play Ja assists and his points. Assists and his rebounds. On the road, you typically want to play Ja points because the role players don't play as well. So I like I know Markel talked about it in the chat early. I like that spot for them. I like that spot for them a lot. I like that spot for Ja specifically a lot. Probably needing his points on the road. Next game up, and like I said, I didn't cap that game too much. Next game up, we got two more games. I can finally be quiet. 76ers and the Magic. Well, no, I talked about this game already. Last game up, I'm sorry. Mavs and the Bucks. So not a great spot for the Mavs. Second game of a back-to-back, traveling from Toronto to Milwaukee. They lost that game late last night. They started hot and then couldn't score. I think they scored 23 points in the second quarter, 21 points in the third quarter. Whenever you combine it for just 44 points in two quarters, that's never a recipe for success. Luka didn't get a lot of help. He also didn't play a lot of, a really great game. I talked about how good OG Anunoby is defensively. Dude, he put the pause on Luka yesterday. I think Luka finished with like 23 points. His line was set at like 30 and a half. OG can do that to you. He could definitely do that to you. And we know Toronto is going to come out with something. They're a scrappy team. They play really good defense. Looking at this Bucks team coming off a really impressive win against the Cavs in a game that, Giannis went crazy in the second half. They're just gelling right now, man. I can't play the Mavs. The Mavs are not a team that I feel like I want to back right now. They're not a really good road team either. When you look at them on the road, let me see what that is. I can't remember exactly what it is. Team Mavericks. They're struggling on the road so far this year. They're only 1-6 straight up on the road, losing by an average of 4 points. ATS wise, they're only 2-5. They've only covered 2 games out of 7. So fading them on the road, 71% hit rate right now. Just looking real bad on the road, man. 4 straight losses on the road, straight up and against the spread, against the Magic, against the Wizards, against the Celtics, and against the Raptors. And now you're asking them to play the Bucks on the second back on a game in the second in the second night of a back-to-back. No way I could do that. This is also looking at their schedule. They had the 24th and the 25th off, but this is also their third game in 5 nights. So, not the worst spot in the world, but nice little road trip for them, and they're not they're not looking good right now. A lot of it has to do with these teams that play defense, and the Bucks are another team that really plays defense. Their offense isn't clicking right now, not scoring a lot of points. Lost to the Raptors, only got 100. Against the Celtics, they gave up 125. Against the Wizards, they gave up 113, only scored 105. Against the Magic, they only scored 87. So, Luka is a ISO player. He tries to get everybody else involved, but being involved on that team literally looks like just standing in the corner, being able to make a wide open 3-pointer. I'm talking about Dorian Finney-Smith, Tim Hardaway Jr. I'm talking about Reggie Bullock. I'm talking about Maxi Kleber, who just came back. These guys' only job is to stand around and be able to make wide open 3-pointers, and they're not doing that right now. So Luke is also shooting a career low, I think 27% from the 3-point line so far this season as well. Just hasn't been dialed in, been able to get his shot to fall from 3. So That's a big part of it as well. I'm not taking the Bucks that's more rested at the crib, didn't have to play last night against a Mavericks team that had to travel. So that's my thoughts on that one. Mavs can be feisty on the road. Do they win by 7? Do the Bucks win by 7? I'm not 100% sure, but I wouldn't be putting my money on the Mavs in this spot, at the rest disadvantage. And that's it, man. That's all the games that I got for you guys. I didn't play any props or anything in any of those other games. What y'all on in the chat real quick before I open it up? If you got a play or a question, send me a request on Twitter. I'll get to you guys and we'll keep it moving. Fremont said Magic early. I like the Magic early, Fremont, the same way I like the Magic full game if they're the dog. I don't typically play the Magic first quarter, first half if they are the favorite. But I couldn't talk you off of it. 76ers might be feeling themselves. They play extremely hard too. So I'm not really looking to, I'll fade that 76ers team, but not against this Magic team. Like, I hope that makes sense. Paolo is back. He should probably play well in this one. Second game back is typically a little bit better than your first game back. So couldn't talk anybody off Paolo props. Nesbet said Cavs are pass for me, but pass. All I know is Pistons been feisty as hell without K and Isaiah Stewart. Yep. But they got mad people questionable today. I don't know who's in. That's a fact. You trend on that point. Yeah, for sure. You trend on that point though. Yeah, that's a fact. Levert and Jared Nets legends. 2 key misses as well for them. Stay away game for sure. Put that on the backwood. Markel said, did you say you would lean to the Celtics first quarter spread? No, I did not say that, Markel. I actually didn't even cap the first quarter. If you look at the Wizards let's look at that real quick. If you look at the Wizards as an away dog, I feel like they typically come out with something in the first quarter. Let me see. Wizards and away dog. The Wizards, they win the first quarter as away dogs. They win the first quarter by an average of 1 point, 27.4 to 26.7. So for some reason, when they're away dogs, they come out with something. At home is typically probably where you want to fade them if you want to fade them early. First half might be a better play, Markel. They're losing the first quarter as an away dog. I mean, winning the first quarter 27 to 26. They're losing the second quarter 22 to 28, right? Another thing I think is key to mention as well. Teams that have a different rotation than what they're used to, typically it takes a quarter or 2 quarters. Sometimes it could take a half for them to get into that offensive flow. You even saw it last night with the Lakers, right? You just get Bron back 2 games ago. Then, Bron plays by himself. So Bron and AD are back, right? So you got the whole gang together, even though you don't have Patrick Beverley. And sometimes it only takes that one rotational player that can throw all the chemistry off. So even not having Patrick Beverley. But yesterday, you get Bron back, you don't have AD, and you see the Spurs come out and they actually win the first quarter against the Lakers. So and there's more and more trends that kind of support that as well. You see it a lot with the Clippers when they constantly have Kawhi in, PG out, PG in, Kawhi out. Then they both play together. Now they both not playing together. So Mike Conley same way with Utah, right? Sometimes it only takes that one player that can just throw off the whole chemistry. So I wouldn't lean towards the Celtics early as far as first quarter, but I do think Celtics first half could be a play. I think Celtics first half could definitely be a play. But that's a really good question. Let's see what else y'all on. Grizzlies -3.5, Bucks -6. I got today. If Luka happens to get ruled out, line will go up crazy. I didn't even know he was listed as questionable. He was getting beat up in Canada yesterday and played hella minutes on Bucks either way. Mavs bad. ATS, yeah, they are really bad. Markel said Greek Freak for 30 and a lean 12 rebounds. I can see that. Luka been my big day. Been my big day since day one. So lately, I'm always want to take the Mavs. Then I have a reality check. What else y'all on? What else? Yeah. All right, so send me your request, man. If anybody got anything, I'm trying to get out of here. I ain't trying to be on here forever because football about to start. I want to watch the football games before the NBA games start. But yeah, send me your request if y'all got anything. What's up, Anthony? How you doing, bro?
Good. How are you, bro?
I'm good. Yeah, you good?
I just want to say I got a play I wanted to bet with you, but just want to say I appreciate all the free game and everything you do for us on here, man.
Absolutely, bro. I appreciate you showing the appreciation, my guy. What you on today?
I'm good. I'm doing good, man. Just placed my bets. But I wanted to give you what I got. I got a Ben Simmons over 25.5 points, rebounds, and assists. He's done this in 4 of the past 5 games, and he's just been more aggressive lately. And I wanted to hear your opinion on that.
Yeah, Anthony, I would agree with that, bro. I would agree with that. For me, I need to see Ben Simmons do it, just a tad bit more. But I think I couldn't talk you off of it. I think Portland is in a sleepy spot tonight, Anthony. I really, really do. Fourth game of a 4-game road trip, which that can mean one or two things. That can mean that you really want to get a win, so you go back to the crib and it's everything's good, or it could mean that you come out a little lackadaisical and just not locked in. I think what we see based on the point spread, based on the way that the total is moving and the money coming in on Brooklyn, people are predicting what you're thinking, right? Also, when you get these teams that are away dogs and they win, they typically don't play as hard in the next game, especially when it goes to overtime. I think that spot that that I talked about yesterday on the show, and I made the video for it, posted it on my page. Supporting the the Houston Rockets is a great example of that. Now, granted, like the Brooklyn Nets don't have to, the Portland Trailblazers don't have to go far. To get from MSG to Barclays is not not far at all, right? But at the same time, when you play extensive minutes the game before, like the Brooklyn Nets, like the Portland Trailblazers did, a lot of their starters played 45 minutes, if not more. And I talked about Jeremy Grant saying that game was a must-win game. It's hard to match that must-win energy. You know what I mean? If you go hard one day, even if you just translate this to something like the gym, right? You go super hard in the gym one day, typically you can't bring that same energy. You can't muster up that same energy in the next game. So I would look for, I look for Ben to be motivated back at the crib, especially coming off the loss against the Pacers. I like the look, bro. I like the look a lot.
Thanks for letting me speak, bro.
Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. I hope you cash it. Ben Simmons over 25.5 points, rebounds, plus assists. Anybody else got anything they want to share real quick, or any questions they want to ask, or any plays that you got? Send me a request. We got about 5 more minutes before I get up out of here. But it could be earlier if nobody else got anything. And if that's the case, I'll just go back over my officials real quick, and then we'll wrap it up. I know it's not a big show today, NFL Sunday. Be back tomorrow. Tomorrow starts the work week, man. So Cashed It with Chris at 7 a.m. Live on Twitter and YouTube. And like I said earlier, if you guys want to, if you want to support, man, I had a couple requests for the hats, man, the ChrisBeCappinn hats. I got plenty of these. I bought a couple downstairs to show you guys. But if you're watching on YouTube and you want a ChrisBeCappinn hat, these are trucker hats, fresh joints. Let me know. I'll send them to you guys. $40 with shipping included. So just let me know if you guys want a hat or two. Also hoodies on the ChrisBeCappinn website, and the t-shirts on the ChrisBeCappinn websites as well if you guys want to support. But yeah, I don't see any more requests, so we're gonna wrap it up, man. Like I said, official for me. I'll go over my notes real quick with you guys, let you know what I'm on, and then we'll get up out of here. I'm official on the Nurkic. I talked about Nurkic, man. I love Nurkic in this spot tonight because he was one of the starters that didn't play as many minutes as Jeremy Grant and Anthony Simons. So Nurkic over 14.5 points. He's cleared it 5 games in a row. I allotted him to 20 at plus 320. The Brooklyn Nets are allowing the second most points to centers over the last 7 games. And I took him at 25 for plus 1,200. Oh, we look like Pascal Siakam with that abductor. It's questionable for Monday. That's actually really, really good for Toronto. So Nurkic over 14.5 points. Nice little ladder on him. Also moving to that next game. I also lean. No, you know what? I'm not talking about that game. Warriors and the T-Wolves. I'm official on Cat over 22.5 points. Nice little bounce back spot for him. Rudy Gobert over 12.5 rebounds. Love that look as well. And I played Cat rebounds as well. I talked about a smaller play over 8.5 rebounds, but Cat has had at least 9 rebounds in 13 straight games versus the Warriors. It's just a spot that he gets up for. And I think last game was a look-ahead spot as well. So Cat over 8.5 rebounds, Cat over 22.5 points after that. 6 for 22 from the field, 1 for 11 shooting performance in his last game. And then Steph, the road, the superstar on the road has to save the team theory. And I'm going with that one again. Steph over 29.5 points, 34 points, 5 threes in his most recent performance against this Timberwolves team in Minnesota at the Target Center. 37, 6 threes the game before that. 37, 11 threes the game before that. And 36 and 8 threes the game before that. Those are his last 4 games against the Timberwolves, specifically at the Target Center in Minnesota. Wish I was there. I think Steph going crazy tonight. So give me Steph over 29.5 points. And real strong lean to that Pacers money line. I don't even care about the 1.5 points. I think that they win the game. Didn't play that one yet, but Pacers money line minus 120. Probably going to put that in my pocket as well. And I don't really got anything for these other games, man. Like I said, I'm probably going to have something because the props weren't available for Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart, but I'm probably going to jump on Marcus Smart, probably his PRA line, maybe just his points. And I'm going to look towards Derek White as well. And those rebounds. I talked about Tatum. Tatum averages, I think he leads that team in rebounding. So a lot of those rebounding numbers did not go up at all. And you have to look at those rebounds versus the Washington Wizards team that struggles to score the ball. So it's going to be a bunch of, rebound opportunities in my estimation. So I love, looking at one of those guys' rebounds. Probably Jaylen Brown, like I said, already juiced at 6.5 minus 142. But like I said, it could be a potential 10 rebound game for Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown points. He had a massive triple-double, I think, the last time that Jason Tatum didn't play. So looking at him as well, Marcus Smart, Derek White, y'all figure that out, what y'all want to do with that. Cavs and the Pistons, way too many injuries. Not going to talk about that game. But home dogs catching more than 7 points are 14-1-3, 97% against the spread this season. Wanted to make sure I mentioned that. Grizzlies and the Knicks, way too much going on in that game. Sixers and the Magic, throwaway game for me. Mavs and the Bucks, could only look towards the Bucks. That's what I got for you guys, man. Hit the like button for me. 57 minutes in the books. Hit the like button for me. Subscribe to the videos if you guys haven't. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Enjoy NFL Sunday, man. I'm about to go watch some football and look at these games a little bit tighter. Especially that Celtics game, because I got to figure out what I want to play in that one. Maybe I'll drop a chalkboard exclusive there. But best of luck to you guys as always, man. None of this is financial consultation. It's SDQL, it's logic, it's query, it's trends, it's rewatching the games over and over again. Checking stat muse, all those different things, man. Bet with your head, not over it. Until I see you guys tomorrow, 7 a.m. for Cashed It with Chris. Best of luck on your bets. I'm out.